Yeah, youth group is 12 to 18, something like that.
12 to 18.
So they would
separate the boys and girls.
They would separate the boys and girls. And when you were saying the fact about like, oh, your worth is tied to your virginity, some of the stories that we remember and that our friends were telling us about was like, I specifically remember being scarred by this whole movement and this whole thing because one of the leaders, I guess, took a roll of tape, like a big piece of tape. And we all had to stand up in a line. And they made it like a game. And then they would stick it to the first person. And then they would, now you take off the tape and you stick it to the next person. Oh. And then they took off the tape and stuck it to the next person. And then by the time they got to the end of the line, they were like hitting it on each other because it wasn't sticking anymore.
Okay.
And then they like picked up the tape off the floor or something like that. And like, this is what you're gonna be if you give yourself away to all of these people. Or basically, it was just like, and one person. Even if you give yourself to one person, you're not going to be sticky for your husband.
You're not going to be sticky anymore.
You're not going to be sticky.
So you're non-functional.
No. Mm-hmm.
You're dirty.
You're dirty. Uh-huh.
And you'll have nothing left.
And you'll have nothing. You'll be all you. What I got from that is
used
all used up.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm Anna Faye.
I'm Christy.
Welcome to Table Culture. We are pumped for today's episode.
Yeah, sorry guys.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. We decided that we recorded an episode and then we decided to do it again.
We decided to do a rewind.
Rewind. Not that it was bad or anything.
No.
A lot of you actually, when we asked what people wanted to talk about the most, this topic kept coming up a lot, which is purity culture, but we like to call it toxic purity culture. So we did an episode. That's why it's been a little while, guys. We're still here, still recording. But we decided to re-record because we have gotten we've had some very interesting conversations from people. And this is so much bigger.
Yeah.
And more dysfunctional and more intense than we
anticipated.
And
I think, too, because we didn't necessarily really experience this and it wasn't really enforced in our own household, I think that a lot of our friends and growing up and then just people that we are friends with today, they shared their stories and this is something we got to talk about.
Yeah.
Especially our generation.
Yeah, I think we probably got it the worst because like we're millennials and I guess if you're in your 30s, if you're in your late 20s, 30s, maybe 40s, we got it the worst because purity culture was really big. Look what happened.
Like, in 1990, it started emerging and then it really gained popularity in 2000 actually.
Oh, really?
Because certain celebrities were doing the promise rings and really talking about
Joe Bros.
The Joe Bros. Remember how controversial it was when they took off their promise rings?
And I think it was like other popular celebrities too, like
Selena Gomez, Miley
the Disney
Cyrus.
characters,
yeah,
not characters.
The Disney characters.
The Pluto and Mickey.
The Disney celebrities.
The Disney stars.
Channel. The Disney Channel.
Mm-hmm. They made it really popular, but maybe some of you don't know that's your only experience to purity culture because you're like, oh yeah, I kind of remember the Jonas Brothers or Demi Lovato or whoever. I don't know what their names were. Like that's kind of all we know about it. But purity culture in the world we grew up in our families, with our friends, was really quite different than just a ring on the finger. So why don't we define purity culture, talk a little bit about it, where it came from.
Yeah. And I think too, it's so in the United States, it really gained popular in the the 90s because of a reaction to the 70s sexual revolution,
Yeah.
what was going on, the movement that was going on in the 70s. And then from in the 1980s, there was AIDS awareness and
Right.
sexually
Yeah.
transmitted diseases.
People
So,
started talking about it more.
yeah. So it became super popular in the 1990s. Obviously, we were affected because it crept into the evangelical church. There was also an author who wrote a book, True Love Waits, which went,
Stop.
like in our days, we would say it went viral.
Oh my gosh, True Love Waits.
Traumatizing.
And that book was about I can't really remember a lot of this. I've definitely repressed stuff. But that was basically a book about waiting to have sex until you are married.
Well,
right?
it was
I don't remember.
abstinence.
Abstinence.
Okay. The key aspects of purity culture are, number one, virginity as a marker of value. It was really taught towards women,
Yeah.
that their self-worth was tied into their virginity.
Yeah.
And it really emphasized on the importance of saving yourself before marriage. Saving oneself for marriage.
Literally. Well, that's what I feel like I took out of that, because I was really young in the 90s and like the late 90s. I feel like I had no idea what was going on, but I remember, I guess maybe this couldn't have been the 90s because I was too young for that. But later on, what they taught us in our youth groups, which if you don't know what youth groups are, it's like church
Young
for little
adults.
people.
Young adults.
Yeah, youth group is 12 to 18, something like that.
12 to 18.
So they would
Separate the boys and girls.
They would separate the boys and girls. And when you were saying the fact about like, oh, your worth is tied to your virginity, some of the stories that we remember and that our friends were telling us about was like, I specifically remember being scarred by this whole movement and this whole thing, because one of the leaders, I guess, took a roll of tape, like a big piece of tape, and we all had to stand up in a line, and they made it like a game. It was, and then they would stick it to the first person, and then they would, now you take off the tape and you stick it to the next person. And then they took off the tape and stuck it to the next person. And then by the time they got to the end of the line, they were like hitting it on each other because it wasn't sticking anymore.
Okay.
And then they like picked up the tape off the floor or something like that. And they're like, this is what you're going to be if you give yourself away to all of these people. Or basically it was just like, and one person. Even if you give yourself to one person, you're not going to be sticky for your husband.
You're not going to be sticky anymore.
You're not going to be sticky.
So you're non-functional.
No. Mm-hmm.
You're dirty.
You're dirty. Uh-huh.
And you'll have nothing left.
And you'll have nothing. You'll be all you. What I got from that is
used up.
all used up. You're used up. And then like now I'm thinking about knowing people, even at that age, that weren't talking even about like sexual assault. And it's like, so what message was that teaching to, because they already a lot of kids and young people blame themselves. And they're like, oh, I brought this about, the dysfunction of their mind. I brought this on myself, or I did something wrong. So I'm like, this message is even more dysfunctional to the people that didn't want that. And now they're like, oh, well, I guess I'm used.
Right. I had a class, and it was just like a young women's class. It was not, I don't think it was in youth group, but it was just like an extra class. And we had a rose, and we pulled all the rose petals off. And it was like, so the very end with the piston and the stem. And they're like, okay, now go give this to your husband, because you won't be beautiful. You won't be the beautiful rose. You won't have the petals and which gives it its beauty. You'll just be the used up little stick. And that's all you'll be worth to your husband.
Stop.
Yeah. I remember being really angry because
like something about this is not right.
Strangers are trying to tell me something. These are not my parents. And then
True.
You know what I asked? I asked Mom, and she's like, oh, I had no idea you guys were doing that. I had no idea that happened, or that that's what they were teaching you.
That's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
but
But she
also,
did say at that time we thought everything that the church was doing was great and
right.
wonderful, and I probably would have made you go anyway.
Right, because I think our parents are very different now than what they were in the 90s. And like we were raised a lot more strict than I think some of the things that they believe now. I mean, they're still like holy people and like,
I don't know. Dad really didn't like any of that kind of stuff.
yeah,
He is very Sicilian through no matter what, and was like,
nobody talks to my
nobody
kids.
teaches my kids.
Nobody talks to my kids.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even talk to
Like
us.
they wouldn't be disciplined though
I'm like,
through someone else, or their worth would never
no.
be determined by a stranger.
Well, what's interesting though is on the other side of that is, and I know everybody has different experiences, but also with the purity culture and the movements, like I feel like it made sex and sexuality something that could only be taught through a book or behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And it was very like a secretive thing. And I think that even our own parents were like, how do I talk to my kids? And then we didn't want to talk to our parents.
No.
So I think there was
Well-
a weird thing. Like we're very open with our children. We use correct anatomy. We're very like, I teach my girls about their reproductive system, everything. I mean, so much that you can a 2-year-old and 4-year-old. But
Right, but from response of being everything hidden and in
Everything.
the dark or never talked about. So
Right.
that was our reaction to it. All right, well, I'm not going to teach my kids to not be body positive
No,
and
yeah.
not be aware of what's going on with their own bodies and or the opposite sex as well.
yeah, I mean, also, I think, I don't know how, you guys, obviously, we want you to comment and tell us your stories, even anonymous, message us. But I don't know how people, there are some people that I know that grew up in like hyper religious environments, and not even the father, if it was a guy, the father would not talk to the male, or the mother would not talk to the girl. So they had like, our dad didn't talk to us about this stuff. He would
Right.
be like, that's not good, or this is not good. But he would never really talk to us as girls. I think our mom did try with both of us, but I was like, stop talking about this. This is gross.
Right.
But I don't know if other people had the experience of the opposite gender talking to them. So then it kind of made this weird, I don't know, at least for me, and I'm sure other women, it was like, well, I can't talk to men about this. So then it's like, well, then how are you supposed to talk to even your husband? I feel like it makes that weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because it teaches abstinence only. So then there's no introduction about sex prior. You're supposed to discover everything on your wedding night or discover everything
Yeah.
with your spouse. So there's no talking about it before.
Yeah, that's really weird because you said that in the evangelical Pentecostal space, and I'm sure like Baptists are like this, I'm sure
Even Catholics,
Catholics, yeah.
Catholic school, private
yes.
school teaches still to this day.
abstinence, abstinence, abstinence. And then it's not just that abstinence only is particularly wrong, but they are like, there is no other option.
There's no other education.
There's no other education. There's no other option. And I mean, I don't want to give numbers. I don't actually know the statistics, but I'm going to say, let's be
Statistics?
Yeah,
The
like statistics
on
would
what,
be like
pregnancy?
not
teen
even just like
pregnancy, or-
teen, like you're definitely I'm going to say, let's just say, even if it was 50% of teenagers before the age of 18 are having sex. Would you say that or no?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. I don't know. I just know
I would
that
like to
how
know that.
this overall. They
So
did
there's 50%. Let's say if minimum 50% of all teenagers you're not reaching at all, or way too afraid to tell you that they did something or whatever. It's probably more than 50%. Or not even teenagers. I mean, I guess this doesn't even just have to do with teenagers. This is what, even like me, I was taught when my husband and I mean, we waited until we got married. That was a choice that we decided to make. We were very like, hey, we're going to do this. And we're very grateful that we made that choice. The negative of that is we did not know what the heck was going on, one. And we had nobody that we felt like we could really talk to about those things. So no one really, like, I feel like it was really pushed even in the environment that we're still in. It's like, don't have sex, don't have sex, don't have sex, don't have sex. And then as a woman, you're like, don't have sex, don't have sex.
Okay, but it
And then,
creeps in. The thing that I think for our mental health to really focus on is what this did to us much younger.
yeah.
How it affected us. Our worth is tied into our sexuality. Women were encouraged to dress a certain way so they wouldn't tempt men. Do you remember that?
Well, it's so crazy because I was just on stage with two younger girls, and they said both like have like Latin Pentecostal like strict upbringing, and they said that they were even told by like people that were not family members, like, oh, you can't dress like that because you will tempt males. And they were like, we were way too young to even understand that concept. They're like, wait, so we have to dress a particular way so that you don't objectify me? And as a young girl, it's like, I mean, you have like, what was your experience? Because you have a lot of experience, a lot of opinions on. You were really told like, don't dress like that and don't do this and don't do this. Like, I feel like you had a little bit more, maybe because of the type of body that you had or whatever. I don't know. But you are like, don't tell me what to wear.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I really was not aware of what was going on. I felt rebellious. I didn't really want to listen. And it definitely really messed me up. But I didn't realize that until my 20s.
Yeah.
And even in my 30s when I was trying to work through all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So even in my marriage, it affected me. It causes a disconnect with women, especially. I mean, I obviously can only speak from my own experience.
No, it's 100% true.
And from years of therapy and
other women.
from experiences from my girlfriends and whether they grew up in Christian or Catholic high schools. It was mostly all the high school sex ed and what was going on, especially like the fathers at the time, the role of the father, were they getting involved in the girls' lives or older men, what was being said to them.
True.
But I don't know. I was so rebellious. I wasn't going to let anybody tell me or teach me anything.
Yeah.
And I think that I definitely didn't buy into, oh, this is my worth. But it definitely crept in that women are responsible to keep their husbands happy.
Yeah.
And you are responsible. You have to look a certain way. You have to act a certain way. And you have to keep your husband happy sexually and emotionally. And it's dependent on you.
Yeah.
That's your role as a good wife.
And you're not important.
No. And your needs or your sexual needs are not necessarily important.
No. Which is crazy because if you believe in the Bible at all, no, forget that. If you believe in science, women have a part of their body that the only purpose of it is for pleasure. So why would women not get to enjoy? Or like, I feel like there's so much, maybe this is just a religious thing that more emphasis is put on the male. And women are taught to like
say that it's in other religions as well. Just women have come a long way.
Yeah.
We are very open-minded women. Women were never considered. Historically, they were always less than. So,
I mean, we kind of still are. But not that I'm saying women are amazing, but
I think shame and guilt also was a huge thing because we were taught that sexual desires, our thoughts were impure. That was a big teaching. The true love waits,
Kiss dating
and a kiss
goodbye.
dating
Yeah.
goodbye. It was all about how strong can you be? Or, a huge thing was masturbation.
Oh yeah.
If you masturbate, some people were told
Going
that
to
they were
hell.
going to hell.
Yes, I know. I mean, I have so many stories about this, but I know a man who told me that their mother
God.
would,
Oh
and
God.
they're like young, you're figuring out your body or whatever, that their mother would barge into the room when they knew that and be like, you need to be holy.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, you are super traumatized. Like, that is so dysfunctional. Or like she would say, and the mother, not even the father, the mother would say all these like weird religious things to them and be like, you're going, I don't know, like you're going to hell, you're this. And
Oh, if you masturbate too much, your penis is going to fall off. Oh, and by the way, only men masturbate, right?
Oh, only men.
Okay.
Only men masturbate and only men look at porn.
Oh,
Which
right.
I'm going to say, even me, like in all honesty, I mean, yes, I know that it's much higher with men. Men, I don't even want to say men are visual. There's a lot of like scientific studies behind that. But I was really floored to learn about how many women look at porn. And then also even thinking about my own experience of, as a kid, I did not really truly understand sex. Like, you're told what it is. And sometimes it's funny when you tell like a younger kid, like when you told your son, or
I did not tell him.
Oh, yes, okay. Your husband told him. Or, my other friend said, oh yeah, I told my like 9, 10-year-old daughter. And she was like, like, I don't know about that. Like, that sounds a little weird. And I remember thinking those things, but it's so interesting that those kids were actually saying to their parents, like, I don't understand why you would do that. And meanwhile, me as a young kid was like, I need to get out of this conversation as soon as possible. This is so weird. And then kids that have access to the internet are like, okay, but wait, my parents are telling me this, or my youth group is telling me, or my class in health class or whatever. And then they go to porn to look at it. And I was stinking traumatized by what I saw. So traumatized. I was like, I am so confused about the stuff that I saw, because it was really like, I mean, this is so long ago, but it was really objectifying.
Oh, of course.
And everything was obviously exaggerated. The girls' chests were big. And I just remember seeing all these things. And I'm like, this doesn't look real.
Yeah.
And then feeling shame that I looked at it, but I was like, I still don't quite get it.
Yeah.
I still don't quite get it, because I'm pretty sure that's not it. And what the book says to me, I was like, how does this work? So it's like, I think, unfortunately, there is a door in purity culture for hidden
Yeah.
masturbation, hidden pornography use, hidden sex, hidden sexual like assault, because you don't want to talk to anybody about these things, because you feel really guilty or shameful. And that just breeds like, that's scary. And that I can definitely say that for myself of I didn't know this. I don't know. I just feel like it really messed me up.
Yeah. Because, is it because the shame and guilt tied into how it made you feel as an individual? Like, you are not allowed to be sexual. You're not allowed to have these thoughts or these urges. You're not allowed to be curious.
Yeah. And I think it was confusing too, because I was like the law of first exposure, right? So when you're first exposed to something, it's something that really just implants in your mind. And I feel like as a kid, the reason that I was probably more just, I can't talk about it, this is weird, is because I was explained by other kids. I was explained to by other children what sex was, um, things about it that just were not either accurate or definitely. I mean, when I think about two of my first experiences with it, with being told what sex was, they were both from girls that I know now have been molested. So they knew way too early about it. And so I was even like my therapist was like kind of telling me like, oh, this is like a secondary like sexual trauma because you were then exposed to their sexual trauma. And I don't want to say
Did
secondary,
it
whatever,
Yeah, no,
smart
it makes
language
sense.
she
So
used.
did
But
it happen to you before? Like, let's say mom gave you that
yes,
book. So
yes,
that's why all your responses, closing the ears, shutting your eyes during like the
yep.
kissing make out scenes.
Oh, and yeah,
I remember
still
when we
even to
would
this
go
day,
to
I'm
the
like,
movies and you would close your eyes if somebody was kissing on
yes.
screen.
I was so uncomfortable. And I think it was, and I'm sure other people have this experience as well, of there was just something, number one, I had always felt like there was something that needed to be hidden about it.
Mm.
You have to be hidden. You can't talk about it. And you shouldn't, I don't know, just like this, something about it is like icky.
Yeah.
Something about it is wrong. And when I think back on how it was explained to me,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's why. And it was also explained to me by another female. And so there was confusion there of like, even like by another young kid that was like, oh, let me show you this and that. And that is even confusing in itself because it's like, wait, you're a girl. Isn't it supposed to be between a guy and a girl? You don't know that at like 5 years old.
Yeah, no.
You're like, so you should
That's for
be.
teens. That's for teens. That talk is for teens.
That talk is for teens. So PSA to parents, talk to your kids earlier.
Early.
Early
Talk to
because
your kids early. These kids, 7 years old, because you have to think about first grade, second grade. Some of these kids have cell phones. All it takes is another kid to say, hey, look at this. Or they're playing video games together and there's a chat and there's a link. And I'm not saying this because I've read articles about it. I'm saying because this has happened in my own son's school. I've heard stories from other mothers. This is first, second grade. These kids have older siblings. They have the cell phones. A lot of parents allow their kids to have social media. So something where we would never be exposed until, I don't know, 10, when we maybe started having these thoughts, 5th grade.
These kids know about it way too early.
Yeah.
Like way. And that's why I'm like, okay, purity culture, toxic purity culture, because whatever you want to believe, like I said before, my husband and I chose this, I do think sex is, this is my personal opinion. I think that sex in a marriage is like a beautiful thing. And if you want to wait, I'm not telling anybody that you should. I think it was the best decision for me and my husband for that, for us.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that
Oh, it's okay. We're
What-
allowed.
what did you just say?
We're allowed to.
wait, I was like, wait, why am I talking about my husband?
You're
What did you say?
talking about your husband because you said you decided to wait.
Oh, I was
and
saying the toxic thing about the other toxic thing
the other toxic thing.
about purity culture is what?
There's so many things. I have a whole list here.
Yeah, like rewind because I
The
have no
negative
idea.
impacts on our mental health.
Oh yes, that's what
anxiety,
yes, that's
depression,
Okay.
unrealistic expectations in
Rewind,
marriage,
rewind.
destroying. No,
Okay, yeah, rewind, destroy. There's so much because we were talking about getting exposed too young, and this. Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to talk about was like how, we talked a little bit about how we were kind of introduced to sex and sexuality. Everybody has a different response depending on if they're a sensitive person, depending on, if they're not, what kind of parents they have. But how do you think, now we're obviously going to give a female perspective because we're females, but how do you think that affected you? Not just, mentally, but physically, emotionally, in all the areas, relationally, how do you think that this toxic purity culture, that's
Yeah.
what I was trying to say before,
Yes.
because there are parts about purity culture that are beautiful. Like when I was saying, about my husband, like, I think it was beautiful that we made that decision. I think it's really beautiful that people wait and, whatever. I'm talking about the toxic aspect of it, not the beautiful decision that people make and the beauty behind, saving yourself for, I don't even want to say that. See, that sounds like weird
Saving yourself.
because I don't even believe that. I believe that you could have sex with other people and then if
Re-virginize yourself?
yes, I do.
Yes.
I do. I've heard it from multiple people. And I mean, I don't know if these stories are too intense, but I've heard it from multiple people. Again, blah, 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 blah. Your past is your past. But what do you think the toxic purity culture, again, not like the good things about purity culture, waiting until marriage, whatever. What do you think that, how did it affect you physically, mentally, emotionally?
Well, I think it teaches you to completely dissociate from yourself as a sexual being. It totally teaches you to disconnect from who you are, who you were created to be.
Yeah.
Especially, let's say you're a female. You're not allowed to have these thoughts. You're not allowed to have urges. You can't be sexual or too sexual or
Too sexy.
act on your. But it also, so you disconnect from yourself, which can then cause problems actually physically.
Yes, I can.
Mentally, you're checked out or you're constantly fighting a battle with yourself. Even if, and I'm talking about in any healthy relationship,
Yeah.
right? It also, the other aspect is it made this unrealistic expectation of marriage. it puts like your sexual relationship on a pedestal and your marriage on this like super high unrealistic pedestal that it's supposed to be all sunshine and rainbows and flowers, right?
Gosh.
And
So true.
And not everyone has the same personality.
No.
Not everyone has the same love language.
I know. I'm very like touchy, feely person. You are not. Well, with the people that you care about, yes. But you're not like.
Physical touch is not necessarily.
My husband is not physical touch. He's like.
Okay. But when you are constantly taught, you can't dress a certain way, you can't act a certain way. Okay, well, I'm just gonna say I'm not allowed to be this way, or I'm going to constantly suppress my own desires, right?
Yes.
So years and years of doing that, then you're
Mess you
allowed to
up.
actually engage in a relationship.
Yep.
But then you're like, oh, I don't
disconnected. I'm so disconnected.
Right. So lots of years with a therapist. And I would highly encourage going to a therapist that is a sex therapist.
Interesting.
It's real. And it's not what you think it is. It's more about behaviors and connecting to your own self.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
For people that also struggle with like disassociation or trauma, or things like that.
And, it's kind of to unlearn. It's all about unlearning.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking back about how I think it's not just purity culture. It's society. It's even in the last 20 years, there's been such a shift. Like, for example, I was a very young girl that had bigger hips and a bigger butt. That was not cool before the J-Lo's, Beyonce, Kim Kardashian. Basically, like, I don't understand.
90s, like
No, yeah.
skinny model.
You were called fat.
Yeah.
You were straight up called fat if you had a big butt or big hips. Now, in the Latin Black community, you were considered normal. But I remember, like we went to a Dutch reform school, and all the girls were tall and skinny and blonde and white skin and blue eyes. And I'm like, so I guess that's what pretty is. Like that for me, a pretty person is tall or is like skinny, or because maybe that's what we saw on the media. Now I feel like a lot of women have kind of undone that, and like Kim Kardashian is special, but like thanks to her for kind of normal. I mean, even though her body's like fake, but whatever. For the people like the Dominican women that are like, oh no, you look like us, or like you're not fat. Like, what are you? But I think that stuck with me so long to be like, there's levels of dysfunction here, but I have a body that is not right.
Mm-hmm.
Something about my body is not right. And something about my body is causing attention from males. And I don't like it. I mean, how many times have I been slapped in the butt by, I'm talking like random men, guys that I worked with. Now, I guess it's a lot more like, you don't do that. But when we were young, it was like, I'm talking about like 14 years old in the mall,
Wow.
15 years old, getting like, or guys like pinching your butt or things like that.
Oh my God.
When I think about this stuff, I'm like, so I feel like it taught me of like, oh, okay, these guys are sexualizing me, and sexuality makes me feel uncomfortable. So I got to cover my body. And this is something like I shouldn't be proud of my body at all. Now, years later, I'm like, oh, now that big butts are in, or like, being muscular or not being stick skinny is in, I feel more confident. But like for years, I had not only severe body dysmorphia, like I am a giant beast.
Oh my God.
Well, think about it. Think about when
Awful.
you were like, oh, pre-baby, I looked even like, I don't want to say better. Everybody's different. But I'm like, you used to look back at yourself when you were like anorexic, basically.
Yeah.
You ate nothing
Yeah.
because you thought you were fat. And I'm like, I thought I was fat. Like, who was telling me that? It wasn't just society.
No, but also think about what was happening. I mean, for me, it's really interesting that you're bringing this up because it was all about the 90s like model, like Kate Moss, and Baywatch was really popular,
Yes.
and everyone was thin and blonde. And then also you do want to dress for the male gaze. So at a certain point you want to dress for the male gaze. And you're thinking, okay, well, I need to be blonde. I need to be thin. I need to have big boobs. I need to. Oh, what were we? We're not allowed to wear. No, we're not. We're belly show shirts. Remember?
Midriff.
Belly show.
Remember in school you had to like wear pants. You had to wear shorts that were fingertip length. Is anybody traumatized by fingertip length? Or what was it?
You're talking to the queen.
I never got in trouble for any
I
of
got
that
called
stuff.
down to the principal's office constantly and had to wear gym shorts because they made me take a ruler to my skirt. Oh, yeah.
Stop.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing I was getting in trouble for was my nose rings and the earrings I was trying to hide. But I remember girls, they would do this like, what was it?
Double
the two
finger strap because we weren't allowed to wear the
you couldn't
spaghetti
wear
strap.
Spaghetti. I feel like that's not the word anymore. It's called a tank. I don't know. Gen Z calls
It's
it.
called a camo. A cami.
Cami?
Cami?
I don't think they call it that anymore.
Okay.
Whatever. But somehow your arms are
Sexual. Your shoulders and your neck
sexual.
are a part of your chest.
Literally. So I'm like, I think that this also, and I don't think it's just religious schools. I don't think it was just Christian or Catholic school or, I think it was women, I think definitely have an issue. I know probably more than half of my friends have had eating disorders, have taken substances to make themselves lose weight or whatever. They drink, they smoke, they do drugs, they take Adderall, they do things because, they make themselves puke, whatever. They go on ridiculous diets. Most of the women I know have some type of extreme like body dysmorphia or dysfunction around the way that they look. And like a lot of them are in this like
Yeah.
religious
It's tied into it.
community because I don't know, again, guys, let us know. I do have a lot of guys that tell me too this, but I think this has really affected the way that we view our body. And then it's like, I don't want to be sexualized.
Yeah.
I don't want to be sexualized. So I'm going to turn that off.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to turn it off. I don't want to dress sexy. I don't want to do, and then you get married when you're allowed to, but you can't wear lingerie. I don't know. Do people wear that anymore? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or you can't wear like sexy things, or you can't, you feel uncomfortable about dressing a particular way. And it's like, wait, but you literally just told me for 20 years I can't do that. So now, like I'm supposed to be open, and there's got to be some, I mean, there's probably a bunch of studies on.
Well,
it,
also,
but-
I think it's really different because people are getting married a lot younger. And now everyone is waiting to get married. Everyone is realizing, oh, wait a minute, we're not ready. We're not mature enough. We need to think about our decisions. We really need to figure out who we're actually marrying. We're not just going to rush into marriage because we want to have sex.
We want to have sex.
Or we want to be married. Or we want a family. People are really making conscious decisions now. I mean, I know it has to do a lot with finances. And
Yes.
and this
Yeah.
trash dumpster economy we're in right
Seriously.
now. But
I mean, also we live on the East Coast, so I think that other people that don't live on the East Coast, I feel like they get married a lot younger because I don't
maybe.
know. I feel like some of my friends like Midwest, and they got married younger, and it wasn't as like they have a lot of kids young,
Mhm.
and they're looking at the people in their 30s still unmarried on the East Coast, and they're like, that's weird. And we're like, but you're weird.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's
I don't know. I think too, how heavily were people involved in this cultish like behavior? Think about all the girls who really, really like went into the purity culture. They did the rings. They did the promise rings.
Oh, yes.
They did the purity balls. They did like the promises with their youth groups, or they bought their
Yes.
boyfriends the promise rings with each other. If they were dating somebody, the commitments they made to
Yes.
their dads.
There was, yes, somebody was telling me about like a ceremony they did with their dad. And
Yeah.
I think they had to write a written contract.
A contract.
I think it was a
I
contract.
thought it was just like a promise.
No, I'm pretty sure it was like a contract, and you both signed your names. Number one, the weird dysfunction of father and daughter.
Well, I mean, they have like
I don't know.
cute little like non Christian things, or like daddy daughter dances.
Oh,
like,
no.
that's really sweet,
That's
right?
No, I'm talking like you say that I'm going to make a promise to wait, and then the dad has this contract and can like use it. Like I know people that were like, my parents used this against me when I started dating, or when they found me making out with a boy, whether or not they were like sexually active or not, they were using this
Yeah.
purity contract, or whatever they want to call it.
Weaponizing it.
They were weaponizing it against them and saying like, see, you're not staying true to your word, or you're not being like a good little Christian or Catholic or whatever girl. So I'm like, that is,
Did guys have anything
were they
like
doing
that?
I don't know, guys. Can you tell us about it? Because I'm pretty sure this was very focused on females.
No, yeah. It
Was
was a
it?
whole
Was-
ball. It was like prom. It was a whole ball. I know one of my girlfriends, she invited me to, it was like a promise that her and her dad would get up together. Did they give each other rings or what? I don't know what they did, but they got in front of the whole church, and she invited me to it to like watch her and her dad make this promise to each other.
Stop. Okay, I'm reading this, and it says the purity ball is a formal dance typically practiced by conservative Christians, attended by their fathers and teenage daughter in order to promote their virginity to marriage. It's a pledge, to remain abstinent, and they make a promise.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
And wow.
So it's like
Wow.
a
Origins in
symbol.
Colorado. Okay, I don't know how right this is. Oh my gosh. These were promoted by James Dobson. Remember Dr.
Yep.
James
Yep.
Dobson?
But the
Wow.
guy who
Star
wrote
99 1.
no, the guy who wrote I think his name was Richard Ross or something. He was the one that wrote the True Love Waits. And I think
Okay.
that it was called True Love Waits Movement. And so
That sounds
it's like a
probably right.
marketing thing to sell rings and
Oh,
merchandise
that's
and do these
gross.
purity balls.
That's so gross. I mean, I'm sure people had good experiences. If you've had a good experience or a negative experience, let us know because we want to know. Again, we did not do these things. We just have so many friends that had some type of aspect of it. Some stuff was really culty that we heard.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
wow, that is really dysfunctional and creepy. And some stuff was just, I don't know, some of the stuff that maybe we were taught that was like, oh, something about this doesn't make me feel right. But then I kind of want to talk a little bit too about the okay, but what about if you are a Christian, you are Catholic, you're Jewish, you're,
Mormon.
more, yeah. I mean, I don't know too much about what they all believe, except like Jewish, Catholic, and Christian, I guess. But, and you're like, yeah, I do want to wait until I get married, or I do want to remain like, I want to
Abstinent.
I want to remain absent. I think this generation is actually doing that a lot.
Yeah.
The Gen Z and some, I guess, like younger millennials are like, yeah, why are we gonna, like, ew. I talked to like some of the younger kids about it, and they're just like, oh, yeah, like, we're not interested in it. But it's like, okay, well, then how do you know what's like culty and what is
But
good?
do you think that is because it's died down so much? That culture has died down so much. And because Gen Z is such like the blue generation, they are so aware, self aware, and technically more aware of their own mental health that they know that, okay, I'm not going to waste my time with these relationships.
Mm.
That I think why even like younger millennials are waiting to get married still or waiting to have kids because they realize, okay, I'm not
This
just going
is
to rush
important.
into this. And so I mean, I know that Gen Z, their generation definitely typically has sex less.
Yeah,
They're like
I think
literally
there's
called a sexless generation.
tons of
But
studies on how, and I know social media and like just not being intimate with people, um, which is another thing that I think, the purity culture teaches you hide, 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 hide. And that's just not in your sexuality. That's like hide everything. Don't talk. Like we were just saying before we started recording of like, I don't know why this particular person, like, they will not open up to me and we're friends, or they will not be intimate or whatever. But going back to what you said about people getting married, we know a lot of people that I hate this, but they wanted to have sex.
mhm.
So they ended up marrying the person that they either had sex with or that they wanted to have sex with because they thought, or even we know people that got pregnant and ended up marrying that person and their life was a mess, or they got divorced in the first year,
Yeah.
or they got divorced 5 years later, or they were like, why did I do this? Like, I cannot believe I married this person, because even some like cultures and churches were pressuring, if they heard that you had sex before you got married, they were like, well, now you have to get married
Wow.
because now you're tied to that person forever. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm pretty sure the Bible does not teach that. Teaches about redemption and,
Right.
you don't have to be tied to what you did. And I think that caused that caused a lot of issues in people that I know. I know that they married people because they're like, well, now I'm used up by this person and now we're tied together forever. I don't know if that was
I
another
don't think
thing.
I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't. That's
Like, more
not just
new.
like the Christian church. It was dishonorable if a woman got
True.
pregnant out of wedlock, or, I mean, we're going back thousands of
Yeah.
years.
Yep.
Thousands of years. So,
Jesus' own mother. Yikes. So it's like, I know that is I don't know, but it's so unfortunate because how many people do we know that got divorced, and we know that they grew up in the.
Well, they wanted to get married.
So then you're not
They wanted to
truly
live
in love.
a lot of my friends, we wanted to just live with our boyfriends. Me. That's one of the reasons I got married, is because I wasn't allowed to move in.
Yeah.
So we couldn't have a relationship. We had
You
to get
couldn't
married.
sleep over.
No,
Yeah.
No, well, we had sleepovers, but it was like
You had to sleep in opposite beds. And
the couch.
yeah, well, but then you got married at 20 years old, 21 years old.
Yeah.
And no shade to people that get married when they're 21.
It's a trap.
I'm not sure. You're a child bride. I have two friends that actually got married pretty young, like 20 years old. And they're still married to this day and have kids and whatever. But they make jokes and they say that they were child brides. Because I'm like 19 and 20 years old.
You're still a kid. I didn't even know who I was till I was 27. I like finally woke up at 27.
Your brain is what? Women are more formed when they're in their young 20s maybe. But
yeah.
guys,
Well, now there's studies that just came out that if you're any kind of neurodivergent ADD, it's up to 35.
Well, that would make sense for us. Because I'm like, I just feel kind of normal now.
Oh my goodness.
Kind of normal, but interesting. Yeah, I mean, I told a young girl literally today. I said, "Hey, just so you know, please don't date older guys." Like, I just said it to her, and she was like, "Yeah, I know." Like, and I asked her kind of about like what she has experienced with her friends about sexuality and this. And I said,
How old is she?
Barely 15.
Okay.
Just going to be 15. And she was telling me, oh yeah, these people are like, they've been having sex since they were like 13 or this or that. And I'm like, Lord have mercy. But I was really like, you know what, we talk about this on this podcast all the time. We have this podcast because we want to talk about the things that are not talked about. But we also want to talk about these things so we can be like, hey guys, let's be mentors to these young girls, these young kids, these young guys. And it's like, I told her, I wish somebody would told me at 14 to not date older guys. Or I wish that somebody would have told me, hey, if you ever decide to, and like for me, I tell a lot of like young girls, if you ever decide to drink or do something with a guy or whatever, I just want you to know I'm never going to judge you. If you ask me my opinion on it, I'm going to tell you my opinion. I don't think you should be doing these things, but I will never judge you. Not one time did anybody tell me, hey, you can come to me no matter what. You're drinking, you want to have sex, you're interested in dating, blah, blah. Everything was hidden for us.
Yeah.
Everything. That's like the whole purpose of this podcast.
Right.
Is to be like, we grew up and everything was internalized and hidden. And like we've been talking about, this stuff really affected us and we're dealing with it as adults. And if I could just help one person to be like, no, you don't have to live like that. You could also come and talk to me. Be open about these things.
Yeah.
You know?
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
What are the dates of the conference?
Oh, yeah. August
5th or 6th.
Gotta look at my calendar.
So
August.
we are going to
be
at a conference for a couple days in
Cranford,
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
We invite you out to come talk to us, sit at our table, come have a conversation with us.
We're literally going to have a table where
we're gonna have a
sell
table.
T-shirts. I think we're going to even have some table culture shirts if we can get our act together.
Maybe.
But yeah, this is where we have a lot of conversations at these conferences and these events. It's called There Must Be More Conference, Cranford, New Jersey, August 6th through the 11th.
Yes.
And I think you have to pay for it, but like.
Not the night sessions.
No, you don't have to pay for any of the night sessions.
So what time do they?
I think it's like 7:30.
Okay.
I want to say. I'll put right here. Is this right? I'll put right here. Like I've been doing in the two episodes we have.
Yeah. So
sorry we took so long, guys. We're going to try to We're building
We're
a
trying to
studio.
get it together.
We're trying to get it together. We both have a billion jobs and we're trying to get it together. But we're building a studio.
Yes.
So we stay tuned.
Hopefully we'll be more consistent.
Help us, Jesus.
Oh, and another thing.
Oh, what?
What are we have been deciding what we want to call the listeners.
Oh, yeah. All right. Because we're like table culture. We know some people call, like, I feel like tablers is weird.
Tablers.
TCs.
Little TCs.
Come
Come on, help us out.
What were some of the other names? Like,
I don't know, but we got to think of some good names.
sit with others. Sit with others.
Sit with us.
Others.
You can sit with us. Those are just like our taglines.
Yeah.
But help us, listeners. We would love to hear your comments.
Yeah, please comment about this. Not only this particular subject of toxic purity culture, but any of the things that we've talked about in our last couple of podcasts. And basically, we do want to hear your stories.
Yeah.
If you don't feel comfortable and you're like, I have this experience that I just, you can message us. A lot of people message us. They came to me in person and told me their stories. And I was like,
Yeah.
Please, we want to hear more about this because it's clearly something that people are not talking about.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it gets really misconstrued and like dysfunctional.
Right.
So like leave comments, message us, subscribe,
like our videos, share. If you feel like someone needs to start the healing process, definitely share our videos, please. We want to thank you for watching us.
Yes.
We love you.
Love ya. Hopefully we see you. If you live in New Jersey or New York, come and talk to us, please. Tell us all your juicy stories because we're gonna come with a lot of content next week because people are just like,
yeah.
Here you go.
Love ya. Bye.
Love ya. Bye.